Hello everyone, my name is Alexandre Clouet. I'm the EMEA responsible for Esports and Education, and today our guest is Jeff Palumbo, which I'll let him introduce himself.
My name is Jeff Palumbo. I'm the Global Senior Esports Manager at Lenovo, specifically looking at solutions and services in the education space.
Super. So Jeffrey, you just said that you are esports responsible. What is esport in simple terms, just so we can understand what is esport in general and people can understand it?
Sure. The easiest way to kind of talk about is the fact that esports used to be just competitive gaming. Very simplistic, but now it has really turned into something more. It has become an environment of students that have come together and really created something that was never really there before. Students are finding the fact that, let me step back a second. Some students may not necessarily fit into what they consider to be the school aspect. You know, they're not an athlete, they're not into being super smart, whatever it might be. Esports and gaming has given a lot of people and a lot of students the ability to feel welcomed in an environment that they normally wouldn't feel or they have felt left out in the past. So what we've seen actually happen is going from this competitive space to this environment of growing student usage that want to be there and want to be part of a group that is just bigger than themselves. We also found in some of the North America data that we've looked at, 87% of students in high school, which could be a secondary school, here in the UK or in parts of Europe, 87% of students say that the esports program is the first program they've joined. That's amazing to hear. And that means there's a lot of students in schools that feel this same way, that they love gaming, there's nothing really for them, they don't feel accepted in other parts of the organization or school. This gives them that outlet, they feel better, there's a health and wellness piece to it, but also there is that competitive piece, which is great, and that's still there, but now there's so many careers that esports is overlapping with that it's allowing students to find all these different things that they had no idea existed, and now they're finding reasons to want to come back to school, reasons to learn and things that they want to study. And I think all those wrapped together is what esports is now.
And you said it can open careers. Could you give some examples so people can understand what type of careers? And it's just not about just playing, so we have a broad view and explain also the ecosystem of esports.
Sure. So there still are professional esports players. I mean, professional esports is worth about $1.8 billion or more right now. So that's obviously a thing. If you want to be a professional esports star, much like a professional footballer, you can. Difficult, but what isn't when you're playing in a competitive league like that anyway?
Yeah.
But a lot of the careers coming out are overlapping with what a football club might have. So that you need your marketing person, you need your engineer, your business people, you need your finance, your lawyers. Those are all overlapping careers right now that are in esports they just can't fill enough of. So a lot of these students, when they come into these programs that we're helping schools to build, the first part is just acceptance in general, but then you also have the fact of, I didn't know these existed, this is cool, how do I try it? And that's where we start looking into the leadership as part of that that's non-competitive, but you also have the leadership aspects of being competitive and what you get out of that as well. So you have both kinds of programs, and then there's just students that just want to be part of it in general, and they might, tackle something, they might want to get into it. But we have seen other people that in North America that have started with journalism, or they're like doing the shoutcasting on their college network. But instead of going into esports, they find a job with a publishing company. And now they're doing that, and now they're potentially doing something for a football club. They're the announcers for that, or for their own podcast. That is the way that esports is really bringing students into learning, opening a door that they might not have known is there, and then finding the parallels from that.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's awesome.
I want to start a new career now.
That's right.
Esport. So also the point I would like to talk about is, you said open a lot of careers for students, but what also are the benefits for students to learn esport and have a program esport that the school would provide to them? Does it develop, like you said, leadership, but as well like inclusion, diversity? Does it develop cognitive and strategic thinking? How does it work with that?
Yeah, all of those and more. So you're 100% correct, and it really does do all that. Now, whether you're part of a competitive team or whether you're part of, a support team or you're just part of the program itself, what you find is that more students that are actually participating in the competitive space or being a leader, meaning they're actually part of production, the production team, part of social media, part of, event planning, they're doing something outside of the competitive piece, they're getting a lot of the same aspects and bonuses of being part of a bigger group than they would just get alone. And what that basically means is, people used to use the term soft skills a lot. What they really are necessary skills, needed skills. And it's not always leadership, and I'll get into that in a second, but it's about being able to speak to someone face to face. It's about to look at them in the eye and be okay with knowing the fact that you might be different, but that's okay, and you can still carry on a conversation, and speaking is just that. It's the ability to have confidence in yourself and what you're saying, and that what you're saying matters just as much as anybody else. And then when you get into that competitive space, you also have, there's strife within teams. How do you deal with things that aren't going your way? How do you deal with loss? How do you deal with when things aren't going well in a game? What does communication look like when you have to do it very fast? What does winning look like, and how do you treat people? So you really have in esports this ability to set and gain these needed skills that you really need in the real world after you've graduated. The real world, they say the real world's not fair. It's not, but having these needed aspects of discussion and communication and confidence and just learning what you might like to do are radically beneficial to these students, and the younger the better.
And it makes it more fun as well for them to learn, because you're playing and interacting with people. It's a new way of teaching, so all benefits for students.
Yeah, and we know that only about 10% of students want to be competitive. So out of any program, if you have 1,000 students, only about, give or take, 100 of them want to be competitive. It doesn't mean that all of them won't play competitively inside of their own group, but if they're going head to head with another school, only about 10%, give or take, want to be that level of competition. So you have this other 90% that do want to be part of the program, and other people just love the health and wellness piece of it. There is nothing wrong at any time that a student should not feel welcome in an esports organization. So what we know is that esports in general has become extremely diverse across every campus and every school. Because as you know, gamers don't care who you are. They care who you are as a person, but they don't care about what your sexual preference is, who you love, how you identify, who you pray to, if you have a disability. They just don't care. You play League of Legends? I play League of Legends, let's play. That is the conversation. And that in itself is a beauty that really we feel can only be accepted in esports. And that's why I push and I'm so passionate about helping schools onboard proper programming to get that done.
That's super. And to make this happen, what would be the best way for schools, public institutions, to put this into place for students to engage more with them and to make them, let's say, learn in a new way? How would school need to do that?
Yeah, great question. So what we see again, Europe is a little bit behind in esports and education. It's just really starting to pop up over the last year or so with some universities here and there, which is wonderful. North America is about 4 or 5 years ahead of them, and then South Korea, Japan, and some of the Asia Pacific nations are also ahead in that aspect. So what we're finding is that, especially in North America, is certain schools bought product and just gave it to the students thinking that that's going to be okay, or they've never set it up. That's not going to help the students. It's not going to help the student success or the program look successful. So what we basically say is Lenovo Esports is here and rolling out in Europe to be an advisor to what you want to build. Let us talk to us and let us ask you questions. It could be myself, it could be one of my colleagues. We want to go through and question you and your school to make sure that you're doing it right for your students and for you. So what does that mean? It means setting up goals and successes. What does that mean for that? Why are you even building an esports program? What do you already have that is part of your esports program? You might already have a club. You might already have a varsity program. You might already have something going on that we're trying to now solidify, or it could be brand new, or you might be a university that has 30 PCs and already has a group, and they want to expand. We can do that too. But what we have to start with is goals and successes, how to build that. What do we look at from an operations perspective? Do we talk to IT? We need to make sure that IT can actually support that the infrastructure can support that, depending on where you want your PCs. Are you doing a space that is just for esports? Or are you going to have a dual use, which is very big in high school and secondary schools, which is learning during the day, maybe a STEM-based program, and then esports after school, which also helps with funding, depending on where it is. But we lay all these out in these blocks so that even before we talk about solutions and services and what we can offer and then product, the school and the headmaster or whoever's running the program knows, okay, I now have a valid and kind of better layout of what success means to us. Now let's get into the operations. Now what is that? Do we want to manually update our PCs every week? Do we want to automate it? Who is going to be the point of contact for this? Because how are you going to engage? All these are questions that we ask just to make sure that they're successful. And then we get into product at the end. Product is a very easy conversation. It takes 5 minutes. What games are you playing? How many might you need depending on the space? Done. What we want to do as Lenovo Esports is not focus on the fact that we need PCs. Yeah, you obviously need them, and we know that, and we have some of the best PCs in the world. What we want to focus on instead is, do you know how to use them? Yeah. And are you not overspending? If you're playing League of Legends, you do not need an RTX 4090 card. So save that extra $1,000 per PC and put it into your space. Put it into some coaching. Put it into lighting because you want to make something cool. Put it into after-school activities like a pizza party once a month. Put it back into the school and to the students. That will create far more success than overspending on something that you don't need. And we want to stop you from having to do that.
So it's really about the program, the services, and everything that englobes the eSport program that will make the student happier and more engaging than just focus on the product itself.
100%. And a lot of people ask me about curriculum.
Yeah.
I tell most schools not to start with curriculum, not because it's not good, but because they don't have enough students as part of their program necessarily for it to be successful. If they start a curriculum and have a class and only 2 kids are in it, they're going to think that the program's a failure. Instead, wait a year, grow your engagement of those student bases, and then when you've done that, ask your students what you're doing. What do you want to learn? What are you interested in? Take a poll. It's like a live focus group. Find out what they want to learn. You will pack that class next year. You'll be able to show administration what it is, and your success is going to be much higher because now you can say, well, now we need more funding. We're growing. Things are going crazy. This is great. How do we keep this momentum going? We can help with that as well. So that is what we tell a lot of people to do.
Well, I hope everyone you understood what is esports and what are the benefits of esports in education. So thank you everyone for listening to us, and thank you to you, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great. I appreciate it.